and welcome from the UK Games Expo. We are Die Rollin, giving you an exclusive press preview of what is coming up. Very exciting.
It does look like we're about to rob the place.
Yeah.
But yes, we're not.
I made a mistake on the mask front.
What did you go for?
Well,
Toy Story.
I went for Toy Story, but it's not very good. Every time I breathe in, I'm almost like choking myself. Like. So I'll get the right ones. I think I might have actually picked up one of my kids' ones, but anyway, that is what it is. So anyway, we're going to give you a very good preview of what is coming up at the UK Games Expo, and also we are doing the day tomorrow, Friday.
Yes, we're there at Friday, and if you are at the UK Games Expo, you'll be able to see potentially Jamie, but definitely Will on Saturday and Sunday.
Yep, and if you see us at the show and you want to say hi, come and say hi to us. We are friendly most of the time.
Yeah, and we literally can't bite you because of the masks. So
the masks help, they really do.
So hopefully you can hear me, guys. The COVID measures here are pretty good. I've got to keep pulling my mask up because it keeps falling back when I talk, which is hilarious. So you come in, you've got to show off your COVID pass or like a lateral flow test. They give you one of these guys for Thursday, Friday. You can come in and out with that. And then they've also got a lot of social distancing in there as well. So if you're worried about that kind of thing, they've got you covered.
Here we are, walking in, first time.
And they've got food in the middle this time.
They got food in the middle.
I can smell it, it's amazing.
Look at that, right, okay, so look at the size of this hall. Massive. Like loads and loads and loads and loads of space for social distancing. And more importantly, look at the gaps, right? So that is like 6 chairs, and then there's another 6 chairs width.
They've really thought about like the social distancing aspect here, because yeah, you're not going to have to worry about being too close to people in this. They've done a great job.
Massive, like huge job. And this hall is huge, like massive. Right, let's go see what we can see, Adam.
Let's do this.
Yeah, so they got Hog Race. Now this has been highly recommended for those of you who've been watching on UK Games Expo live chat. You would have heard Kate saying they're awesome. Oh, cheesy nachos, classic hot dog, cheese hot dog, chili hot dog, and for those of you that are interested, they have a bar.
Tell us about the game. This is generally like babysitters who are looking after mob bosses' children, maybe?
Pretty much. Yeah, so you are playing as a babysitter working for a mobster boss. The idea is generally babysitting doesn't earn that much, and you're a greedy babysitter, so you want to earn a lot of extra money. So you can take on additional jobs by the mobster boss. So he might say, put a horse head in a rival mobster's bed, or destroy some evidence. Those are all good, they're very lucrative, but they could get you in trouble with the cops. The other alternative is you could steal from the boss's house. So you're around there a lot, you know where a lot of his valuables are. You might think, oh, what might he not realise is gone? So you might try and steal from the mobster boss. Now, that's all well and good, you can get a lot of money that way, but every babysitter is out for themselves. So they can dob you in, they can tell on you to the boss, they can squeal to the cops. At which point you may lose that money and take the fall for whatever it was that you did. Now, at the end of the game, everyone's earned various amounts of monies, of cards, and it's not simply the player with the most amount of money in the safe pile. So during the game, if you squeal to the cops on someone, so if you squeal to the cops on this person, they would normally lose this card. This would count against them and go in their cops pile just here. That would count against them at the end. However, you may have a card in your play area that you can flip over, such as this, and you pass the blame on to someone else. That passes the blame on to them, they take this card and put it in their cops pile. If they've got anything to defend themselves with, they could also play one of these, pass it on to the other person, pass it back, and it could repeat until players have used their cards if they want to. At the end of the game, as I said a little bit earlier, you have various piles of money here. These are piles where they count against you. You count up who's got the most in the boss cards pile. The person with the most is actually who the boss has found out who's been stealing all their stuff. So they are taken out outside, never to be seen again. And then the remaining players, whoever's got the most in the cops pile, that becomes the cops' most wanted criminal. So they are arrested, thrown into prison. And then of the remaining players, whoever's got the most amount of money in the safe, that is the winner. So it's not simply a case of get the most money. You have to get a lot of money while also evading the boss and the cops and hopefully dob a few other people in. And that's the game.
The game, it was created last year during lockdown, and it's a little bit different in that it is actually all about feelings. So, you know, it gets quite emotional when you play it. But actually it's a fun game because it's storytelling. And the idea is you tell a dream story using 3 picture cards. So crazy, wacky, mad dream story. And you wake up feeling, and you have to express that feeling with a secret emotion. And then the other players guess the emotion to win points. Does that make sense?
I think so.
This sounds like a really fun game, but like, you know, when the card games in an evening when you got friends over, it sounds like that sort of game.
Yeah.
Which I like, you know me, I'm the eternal socialist in socialist? Socialist.
You're definitely not a socialist.
Yeah, it's a brilliant game for just a bunch of people, even people that don't like playing can play this game because it's very low key. You don't have to be a bigger actor or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's literally just, the cards are really colourful, so they help with the creativity. And all the emotions are, some of them are quite tricky, but they're all emotions everybody can kind of relate to somehow. And yeah, I think it's fun and it's hilarious, some of the stories, particularly if you have a few drinks after. And before you tell them, they can get a bit like, whoa, or a bit dark.
Obviously, loads and loads and loads of games at the expo. So these are really cool. Like, they are. Hello. Do you mind if I spy on your miniatures?
Carry on, please. Would you like me to take the clutches off so that you don't get the shit?
Oh no, I think they look really cool in the. So this is Mortal's Reckoning.
Yes, so we have 2 IPs here. We have Mortal's Reckoning, which is a Greco-Roman 32mm scale fantasy. And we also have Celestial Affinity, which is my 54mm scale medieval horror. Mortal's Reckoning will be a role-play game.
Yep.
And Celestial Affinity will be a tabletop game. Both games are in development at the moment. They'll come out later in the year.
Okay, brilliant.
No problem.
Oh, thank you.
And she said, yeah, I'm her boss.
Well, how did she know?
Hello.
Hello. Now we love a dexterity.
We love a dexterity game, yeah.
We do. Probably not in the heat, but I'm bringing my eldest on Sunday. So I think this will be right up his street. Hello, we're Die Rollin from YouTube.
Hello?
Is this kind of like snooker?
Yes.
In a way, the kind of the colours in the title kind of give it away, I guess.
It's based on snooker, but with carom, counters and surface and powder, basically.
But
So
obviously-
it literally is a marriage of snooker and carom. But obviously with carom, every time you take a shot, you pick this up and bring it back to you. But in snooker you don't.
Yeah.
You know, this ends up over there, so the only way to solve that was to do that. So you could bring it back to myself, you know, so every time you take a shot. And then, and then the next one. So yeah, I'm back to where I want to be now. So that's how it kind of developed. It was originally rectangular, but with a rectangle and your tea or your glass of beer or whatever,
Yeah, I can
you
see.
can't do that.
You can see the problem there. And And it's always a beer, isn't it?
Yeah. Off the table. So this solved, that was the eureka moment. It's got to be round to work. Which then kind of...
That was nice.
That was a very good shot. Which then kind of created these sort of interesting...
Opportunities for playing with the circle. We
Yeah.
keep saying to people there's a lot more angles in a circle, which isn't true at all. But everybody nods and agrees with us.
I just done the same thing.
We've just finished a Kickstarter, so that was the launch of it really. That was the month of June that we did the Kickstarter. Just fulfilled all the pledges on that, so now it's going through the website.
And how much does one of these go for?
The large is 147.50 and the small is 125. They're all made by hand by Jack, who designed it in Leek in Staffordshire, in a little workshop there.
And who's better at this game out of the two of you?
We're both as bad as each other. You've got to bear in mind it's only existed for 2 years. 2.5 years. So we are the real champions, obviously.
We're expecting to
alternates.
have our crowns taken from us this weekend. We know we've got some of the Kickstart pledges coming along to challenge us, so we're really expecting to have our world titles taken away.
We do think as soon as an Asian Caron player, for example, gets hold of it, they're just going to grind us into the dust, because you watch them on YouTube and they're just bang, 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 and we can still miss from that distance. I didn't then, but I would normally.
Feel free to have a go.
Have a flick?
You have a
I'll go for flicks each, so we'll go for res.
Your fingers are probably...
Well, I'm terrible at dexterity games and snooker, so this should be really good. Great, that's exactly where I meant it to go.
That's the beauty of it, is that you can claim that every single time. And I obviously completely overcut that one. It does happen, especially when you're talking to people and the camera's on you as well.
Well, brilliant. Well, I'm sure we'll find you at the over the weekend.
Good luck keeping your crowns.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Hi guys.
Hello. How you doing? Yeah, good.
Tell us about your game.
This is Stratagem. It's a Mecha combat game. It is our first. It's our first one. Typically, we do D&D accessories and tools, but we've been working on this for around 6 years now. We're absolutely in love with it. If you're a fan of 90s mecha anime, you're going to absolutely adore this. There are 4 factions fighting over 1 colony. Your goal here is to destroy the enemy base. You can play 2 to 4 players. You can boost yourself up by taking up control of zones to increase your attack and defense. You get special cards to help your pilot out. It's just a really fun time, a very good user experience. I'm not the best when it comes to a lot of board games. I'm kind of thick in the head. And I got around it really super quickly. We really care about a really good user experience and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're super into mechas and stuff like that, come back our Kickstarter.
Okay, nice. Is your Kickstarter on at the moment? Or
yeah, it's on at the moment. This game is completely ready. It's completely ready to go out the door. We just need the pre-orders, and then it's all good. And if you want to come play test it, you can.
Even got it going on.
we got QR codes on the back of the cards to make it nice and easy for people. Yeah, it's all there.
So my wife is like a massive free fall fan, and so as I walk by, I literally just watched an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars before.
Who's your favourite queen?
Sorry.
Who's your favourite queen?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I watched UK Drag Race, and what's the Scottish guy that won it?
Lawrence Cheney.
Lawrence Cheney. For the first time, Adam has absolutely no idea what we're talking about. But huge fan. So, do you want to tell us about the game, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a deck builder where you get to play out your drag queen truth. So you get to act as a drag queen, building her wardrobe of looks. So you've got your heels, your dresses, your makeup. So that's the deck building element. You're buying those from a common market in the centre, adding them to your deck, which is your wardrobe. And then what's a bit different about this game is you have the normal text on the cards. If you play the cards face up, it activates whatever the card does. Or you can play your cards face down to form your look. So each round is worth a certain number of points, which are denoted by what event is available. And basically, at the end of each round, every player with a thumbs up or thumbs down on the count of 3 declares whether they're going to attempt to try and win those points by revealing the best look. So whoever has their thumbs up, they have to then reveal their looks. The winner, the one with the highest scoring look, takes the points. Anybody else who's also revealed their looks has to discard it. The players who haven't, they get to keep their looks cards face down on the table and carry on adding and working to that look, perhaps playing and waiting for an event that's worth much more points than the one they've just played. So there's a bit of push your luck, there's some PvP, there's some player interaction, and yeah, it's fabulous.
So it's a co-operative monster hunting boss battler where 4 wardens are basically coming up against the big monster, and the first to die loses, basically. Each warden has their own deck of cards. They're all unique to them, so their own abilities. So you've got a hand of 5. Each card has 2 different parts to it. The top half is an ability that you can use where the hunters are doing their thing. So this is basically, the majority of these are attacks and heals, but the second half is an opportunity that can be used at any time. So these can be defense to block damage, or quick heals, buffs to help other characters. But this deck also represents your stamina, so at some point you're going to have to rest to get the cards you use back. You can use the cards as much as you want, basically. Once you use them, you discard them, and then, yeah, if you burn through them too quick, you're going to have to rest quicker than everyone else. But each character, they have their own unique use. So Creve, he's the warrior, he's pretty selfish, right? So he has one ability out of 30 that helps other people. Everything else, he's like, I'm just going to kill that thing. Like, just watch my back. That's his job. Luckily, that's what Artoria does. She basically tanks for everyone. So she can taunt the monster towards her. She can swap places with an adjacent character to take the damage for them. And she could just gift armor to the other guys so that they can not take so much damage. Shadow the Scout, she's all about manipulating the monster. So she can predict its movements by basically going through the deck and choosing sometimes the least nastiest out of a couple of cards. But so give you a kind of advanced clue of what's coming up. She can reduce its rage, it basically gets angry as the fight goes on. So this helps control that. You don't want that hitting top too much. And then Torvax is just an absolute nutter. A support nutter, he throws down landmines and then uses tricks basically to make it go over it, but he's your ranged character with a lot of support, so he tries to keep the characters all alive, up and running. So the monster, his deck, he's got 3 tiers. So basically starts off with just his basic deck, but what happens is as the fight goes on, this gets nastier. So if the rage ever goes up to 6, or if you're unlucky enough to pull a rage token when you're doing damage to him, he basically draws an extra nasty attack. But what happens with these cards is they go in the discard pile, but the discard pile, next time one is drawn, gets shuffled into the basic deck, so there's a chance that card's going to come out again. So it basically becomes one of his staple moves. So it makes him more dangerous as the fight goes on. And this, it gets easier and easier to increase his rage each time it hits the max. The minimum goes down, so he'll start at 3. So the fight just naturally gets worse.
It sounds brutal.
But his health, this is basically his unique makeup. So all his damage is tokens in the bag. You do 5 damage, you're drawing 5 from the bag. These are basic wounds, armor, which is slightly harder to break through, counter attacks, and then rage attacks. The counter attacks, if you're doing enough damage, you can spend some of that damage to break through it to stop it happening, or else one of the counter cards are going to come out. But rage, you can't avoid this at all. So this is where your abilities come into play. So you'll get Shadow to come in, so you could use a study to reveal tokens from the bag. You can say, right, well, this is what we have to deal with, guys. So you see Rage is maybe sitting second down the line. You say, right, well, Cleave is going to come in with his stun, which allows him to just treat any one nasty token as a basic wound. So that's how you work together. You basically say, right, that's coming out, and he just goes, just negates it completely. But the monster, when you're damaging him, for every 3 tokens you draw out the bag, you also smack a little bit off him. And then when you clear one of these areas, you get a monster-specific piece. So you use this for crafting when you come back to the village. So smack him enough time in the face, you're going to break off a tusk. You then take that back and you weld the 2 tusks together and just make a giant bow. Nice. Back in for the next fight.
So I really like, I saw in the board game design and stuff when you're talking about the tokens and stuff, I really like the idea you're getting these different things come out as you're reading it. Like, it's a really interesting kind of...
So you can kind of, it's about mitigation, it's about probability. You know roughly what's in there, but there's 4 random ones. Yeah. So what this is 4 of these plus 1 of these 3. 4 of them go in here, so you never know exactly. You might think you've cleared all the rage, but you never know 100% if a new rage went in there or not. So you can't math it out too much. You're just always playing the odds. The only way you know is when it's empty, when it's dead.
Nice. I know this is still like an early stages prototype. You've got any ideas of how many like different like monsters you're gonna have for this?
12.
12 monsters.
I've already got 5 fully done for their abilities and their stats. But yeah, the aim for the game is 12. It could be campaign, split into 3 arcs. But also any of them could be one-shotted as well, so if you're not into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it scales with, if you have less hunters, if you don't want to go in with all 4, if you don't want to play two-handed, then you can go solo. Basically the decks that you don't use get shuffled in with the cards that you use, so you're not missing out by not taking one of the other hunters.
Yeah. Okay.
But it also diversifies your character a little bit more, so all of a sudden Cleve might have a heal in his bag, which helps him. But as you reduce the player count, your hand size always goes up, so you're getting to do more damage. And because you've got more cards, it's less time before you have to heal to get all your cards back. So,
well, it sounds really interesting. So tell us about the Pyramids of Kufu.
Pyramid of Kufu is a 2-player head-to-head card game. The idea is that you need to build your pyramid with the 9 sort of key items that will be needed in a pyramid. So you've got your weapons, your amulets, your oils and ointments, your canopic jars, things like that. So you've got to get your 9, and then when you finish, you put a capstone on top. However, you've got gods as well, and you have to bless every item with a god. You've got positive and negative gods. So there'll be points in the game when you can put a god in your opponent's pyramid, so you can sort of stitch them up a little bit. You can, if you've got a robber's tunnel in the game, if you play that, you can then steal from your opposition's pyramid if you get that card. The idea of the game is it's a fairly quick filler game, but it can be played at different intensities, because you've got your 3 levels, your subterranean level, your Queen's Chamber and your King's Chamber. You can start with them all in place, which means you just build your pyramid as you go, or you can mix those cards into the game and you can't build up until you've got those, so you can make it harder and longer. You can play it just to build yourself a pyramid and end the game fairly quickly, or you can shaft your opponent as much as you want and, you know, go back and forth quite a lot. So it's got lots of different sort of options in terms of the intensity. And I think the key thing for us is it's 100% for charity. Every penny of that we sell the game for, £10 a copy, and every penny of that £10 goes to the Valinder Cancer Centre in Cardiff. We did it via Kickstarter last year, where people sponsored cards in the game with their name, and that funded the production of the game, and then so the sales is 100% for the charity then.
So the one thing now that just moving aside from the game, and Adam may have spotted, is it's 100% plastic free.
It is.
And I went on a bit. We went
massive
rant the other night because we had this game that came to us. I won't say what it is, but it was just full of plastic components for no other reason apart from just to have plastic components. And I personally think that board game publishers like yourselves should be thinking much more about the environment what we do, and do we need all these plastic components? So yeah, sorry, that's my little. I'm not going on another rant, but I am passionate about it.
It is really important, and I think there's some work to do on it. I mean, we used a small manufacturer in China, and this was actually the first game he produced plastic free. The majority of the game, I think he's done a fantastic job. The cards, they're lovely quality cards and everything, and the dice being wood worked fine. The only problem we found with them was the box not being laminated. We ended up with a larger than normal number of split boxes. Yeah. So I think that's something that needs, almost a way of finding a way to do something instead of laminating that protects the box. Yeah. And obviously they weren't shrink wrapped; they were sealed with a plastic-free sticker. 90% of these have come off no problem. Occasionally you get one that sticks. So it wasn't perfect,
but it was their first time doing it.
So
it was important for them too.
I think it was worth it. But yeah, there was no need for anything plastic in this. It's there is a plastic option. People can make their own 3D printed tokens, which they are nice, but they're not necessary. They are, like you say, they're an added luxury, aren't they?
They're an added luxury, and in the world that we live in at the moment, you just sort of question, like, they talk about climate change and it's so hot in this hall, and it just makes you go, please no more plastic components.
No.
I can't, like, I've had to do an outfit change because what I was wearing, I was literally but goodness, you must be like sweltering.
My head, you don't want to look at what my hair looks like underneath.
No, it's very warm in here, isn't it? So no, we thought, when we were chatting to the guy, and he was sort of, I can't remember how the conversation started, but that's what I was getting a quote, I think, and he said, "Oh, did you want FSC source card?" And he explained what it was. Yeah, that sounds good. Why not? And then he kind of mentioned about going completely plastic free. And when we were talking about it, the price difference was quite negligible, really. And I think, in turn, if I remember rightly, I think the card production cost maybe went up 20 pence to go with the FSC source card. And that's for 120 cards. And I think that the wooden die may have been about 2 pence more than a plastic one. And but then we saved money because we didn't have to shrink wrap. So
we weren't out there to spend loads of money specifically to be plastic free. Yeah. We're doing it for charity. We had a very limited budget because of the Kickstarter amount, and that was it. Yeah. So we didn't go out of our way to go, oh, look at us, we're plastic free. It just made sense. It didn't cost that much more. It really didn't.
When you look at it and you think none of these components need to be non-plastic, then why not? Yeah.
Well done. Well done for the charity. Well done for being plastic free. I'm definitely going to pick up a copy when we're in the halls.
Well, come and have a game as well, because we'll have it set up.
We'll definitely. Yeah, no, we were talking on Instagram Live, and this was the game for me that really stood out after we were walking up and down. And we tried to come back, and you've just been really busy. It's crazy.
Thank you very much.
It's a nice problem to have.
It's a game I think that's going to do really, really well when you get it licensed.
To be honest, I came to the show, I've got no expectations whatsoever with regards to it. It would be lovely. It would be easier from a creative perspective, because myself and my son, I'm with creatives. Yeah. So we'd like to move on to the next thing. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, get it done, get on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You'll this is it, get your first game done, that's it, you'll be off.
So, I'll explain to you how it all came about. So, I wrote a book. The book we launched just before we went into lockdown. The book describes what the autistic spectrum looks like. So, I'm a counsellor, I'm a psychotherapist and a psychologist, and I work with different personality disorders, or different personality types, I think I would prefer to say. And I realised that there was a severe lack of knowledge in older generations such as myself. So my children both, my son has a diagnosis, and my daughter doesn't have a diagnosis. Both of my children show a lot of spectrum traits. And I realised that obviously generationally there's up to 7 generations that have no known diagnosis. So I devised the board game. We have a number of different characters, works on emotional baggage, works on skills. We have to travel through the brain to deposit real-life emotional baggage, and we collect skills cards. And we have behaviour, moral dilemmas, social rules, and emotion cards as we play along the journey. And that's how it works. These are, I don't know if you know what these are. Do you know what these are?
They're fidgets. I might even eldest has got one actually.
Okay, yeah. So we have those in the game. And it's just compatible for most ages. We say it's 12 plus. It isn't, it's adult themed, but it's not naughty adult themed. It's, do you know what I mean? It
talks about stuff that, like, if you've got a younger family, they probably wouldn't get. But as
it's grown up themed.
It's like we call it like an educational game. So you're teaching. At work, actually, there's a couple of games I have in my board game collection that I use that teach skills in that way. So I can imagine, like, in education, this would be like a really good game. But just generally, it looks like a really fun game. And you're doing like previews, like playthroughs over the weekend as well.
We have 3 games that haven't been at Expo before. We're Surprise Fair Games. I'm Alan Paul. I'm director and designer. These 2 games, The March of Progress and Ming Voyages, are part of our Pocket Campaign series that started with the Cousins War 2 or 3 years ago. And we're building a series of games with this kind of box size, with relatively few components, but really good depth of play. That's the whole idea of these. So this one is The March of Progress, and it's a mini strategy game. The whole game is driven by a number of action cards which you play secretly. You play one each, turn them up, do the actions, but you don't get your cards back until you've played your scorecard. It's one of those types of games.
Okay.
And there's a basic scenario which introduces the kind of concept of how you move, how you attack, how you increase the strength of your armies. And then it builds through a series of scenarios from the Age of Marlborough through Napoleonics, World War I and World War II. So you've got tweaks of the rules and victory conditions and components that show you how strategy changes in each of those periods.
All right.
And that's the kind of focus of the game. So you've got relatively limited things. So for example here, you've only got 3 armies on each side. That's your limit. And you've only got a very small manoeuvre space. You've got basically 3 spaces. A blue home country, an orange home country, and a neutral country in the middle. So you're very much focused on how you move your particular armies, when you attack, how you bluff your opponent, and how you take advantage of the rule changes in the various historical periods that we have.
That's really interesting.
So that's the March of Progress.
And how long does like a game of this take? So if you're just doing like the Age of Marlborough?
A scenario is about 30 minutes.
Perfect.
So it's quite quick. There's a lot of replayability in it. The World War II one is probably the biggest one. That's a 2-part one.
We had a very popular series on our YouTube channel, which was like our lunchbox series. So it was like games you could play in the workplace over lunch, and this would fit really nicely in that.
Especially we work in IT, so this is definitely up a lot of people's alley in our line of work.
Yeah. So that's March of Progress. The Ming Voyages. This one is designed by David Mortimer and myself, and it's set in Ming China. The basic idea here is that the Ming Emperor is trying to achieve 7 voyages to, the far reaches of the oceans around China. And if the Ming manage to complete all 7 voyages, they win. But the other player represents all these barbarian tribes who are trying to storm the borderlands of China. So if the barbarian overlord takes all 5 borderlands, then the barbarian overlord wins. And this is all handled through the play of cards, and the cards are typical kind of multifunction cards. So you can either play the event. Each card has got an event for the Emperor and an event for the barbarians, or you can play command points, which gives you much more flexibility about what you do. And the command points usually go from 1, 2, and 3. Like Twilight Struggle, if you play a card, I play this card as the Emperor, if it's got a barbarian action, then the barbarians can take that action.
Okay.
So you're always having to balance the disadvantage of giving your opponent an action when you play the card. It also has a little combat subsystem, so that when you do an attack, so we've got our barbarian horse going into Yunnan there, you roll 3 dice to attack, and what you're trying to aim at is triples, doubles and singles. So if I have rolled a double 5, that will beat a rival roll of, well, it'll beat a double 1, because double 5 is higher than double 1.
Yeah.
Or if we had it like this, double 5 would beat a 3 high.
Okay.
And the extent of the victory will lead to either 1 loss or 2 losses, and you end the battle when there's only one side present.
Okay.
But, the little wrinkle on that is the third thing you can do with the cards is you can actually reserve a card instead of playing it, and that means you can use the CPs to modify the dice rolls when you're playing combat. So there's quite a lot of choices you're making in here, although there's not very many components, there's a lot of choices. There's also a solo game where you just play the Ming Emperor, with lots of increase in difficulty levels. And that's been very successful for solo play in the current COVID times that we have. Solo play being a big thing.
Well, that's all we could do, solo
Yeah,
play.
exactly. That's the Ming Voyages. The third one is...
I actually own this.
Is...
I have this game.
You have
right,
this game?
excellent.
Yeah, I have this. I've never played it. It's
You've
beautiful.
not played it?
I know. I set it up. I got all ready out to play, but I've not played it yet. But yeah, it's really lovely artwork. On
The scenario here is that you are a starship captain. Your ship is been crippled by a meteor, and you are plunging toward the black hole. And what you have to do is you have to try to repair as many of these systems here which are failing. And if you can repair enough systems, you may survive. But your ship is plunging into the black hole. So when you have your hand of 4 cards, you start with 4. Each round you start with 4. You're playing one as an event, which is damage to one of these systems. You're playing one as an action, which gives you flexibility to change the dice. Sometimes it might give you the ability, for example, to switch the dice faces. And you're trying to make these systems get to 7 to be repaired. In which case, you flick it around and you get any advantage. That's not a very good example. No advantage. You flick it around and you get the advantage that's shown.
Yeah.
If it drops to below 1, the system fails and you get the disadvantage. So that's it. That's what you're trying to do with actions. And speed is how fast you go towards the black hole. If you lose if you reach the black hole. You lose if 4 systems or more fail. And you lose if you run out of time. Well, this is a timed game. The kind of easy version is 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And the harder version is 10 minutes. And some people play it on 8 minutes, so I don't think I've ever done that actually.
I like games that have got time limits, because my board game group's got a bit of analysis going on with it. So,
well, this is just a solo, so it'd just be you playing.
Is it just me?
Just solo.
You, yeah.
It's just solo.
No, well, that's even better, because then I can whiz
Take
through
as
it
long
on
as you
my
like.
own. Yeah.
But as you go through the deck, you draw 4 cards, you play them, and you discard them. As you go through the deck, there's these red cards. Now these are a bit fun. These are all bad. So when you draw a glitch, this one says each of your lowest value systems takes 1 damage.
Nice.
So if you can't avoid that, that will destroy systems.
Yeah.
There are actions which allow you to remove glitches.
Well, in
So
this
you really
case,
want to do that.
That would be all of them would take damage, because they're
All of them would take damage. At this stage, this is the start of the game. If that's your first glitch and it's really close to the top, that's really bad. It's really bad. And that is Luxury Turner, designed by Tony Budell.
And all these games available to play at the Games Expo this weekend?
Yes, they're all
there
available.
You go. Oh, well, that's. I'm definitely gonna. I want to come and play this one. Personally, that's the one I'm very interested in. There you go.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's a very the first impression actually because I spotted your costume, and then every time you've gone by, you've been quite busy with people, and then obviously you weren't here. But the game itself is like very bright.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if I do a bit of spiel. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm the designer of Rockpool, which is a new game come out by Gibson's last year. It's a game of children collecting shells from a beach before the tide comes in. So it's a push your luck game where on your turn, or each player in turn is turning over stones to reveal shells underneath. Now, if you reveal a wave, it washes everything away, and that's out of the game. The game will end when all the waves come out. Yeah. But in the meantime, people are turning over shells, and some are shells and some are rubbish. Now, the game has rubbish in it, which is both a good thing and a bad thing if you collect it. If, when you turn over rubbish, you shout rubbish, then you get to collect it, and that's good because whoever's cleared away the most rubbish gains points at the end. If, however, you let the rubbish accumulate and subsequently later call Rockpool when a shell is there, then that rubbish is going to score negatively. So leaving rubbish around is a bad thing, clearing it away is a good thing. So when you've shouted Rockpool, then you turn over the card, the matching shell card of the child, and that child collects those shells and any rubbish, and the other shells go into the child, which is collecting the different colour. Okay. At the end of the game, whoever's collected the most shells of each colour, that child will go paddling in the rock pool, and the winner is whoever's got the most children paddling. So there's 5 shell types, but there are 2 other ways you can go paddling. One is by clearing away the most rubbish, and the other is with your dog. Now the dog is trying to collect dog toys, like teddy bears or...
Can we just point out the dogs all are different as well? Because
the dogs are lovely.
Amazingly cute.
They are very cute dogs. The kids absolutely love the dogs.
I can imagine kids arguing over the dogs.
Who gets which dog?
I want this dog.
So generally, when people are choosing which family to play, then they choose on the basis of the dog.
Makes sense.
So when you've got a dog toy on the top, then you shout fetch, and your dog can collect it, and any shells which go amongst the family. The dogs, rather than trying to collect the most dog toys, so they're trying to get the most variety of dog toys. So long as your dog has collected at least one dog toy, then it will go bounding happily into the rock pool at the end, so you score 1 point. But whoever's collected the most variety of the different types of dog toys, be it balls or sticks or ropes or whatever, that will take another child from their family paddling as well. So it's a nice friendly game. You're trying to have the most children paddling at the end.
Oh, nice.
So it takes about 15 minutes or so to play. The reason I think most people seem to like it is kids love the shouting out and the collecting things. Adults like the fact of it never quite being clear when is the right time to call, so there's a bit of strategic depth, and you can modify the game length by choosing which pile of stones to take from. So if you think you're in the lead, then you want to get the game to end quickly, so you're trying to reveal the wave cards sooner. Each pile of stones has 1 wave card in it, and there's 1 final wave card under 1 pile, so you don't quite know when the game's going to end. So you can be strategic in terms of where you're drawing from, and also you've got the sense of, do I take it eat that pile even though it's got rubbish in, or even though it has creatures. I forgot to mention the creatures before. You've got these lovely little creatures which score negative points. There's fewer of them than there are shells, but obviously it's going to influence when you choose to call. And because you've just got 5 children and 1 dog, you can only shout out 6 times in the course of the game. So choosing wisely when to shout is a key thing. And again, it helps teach children about the importance of a little bit of self-restraint and biding their time, but then calling out at the right time.
I like the very positive message about the rubbish as well. That's really good from a parental standpoint, I think.
And the box itself comes without any cellophane. It's all Gibsons as a company are very keen on.
We're very pro.
Okay, so Quirk is a game, a twist on Go Fish, but instead of having to ask for characters, you have to act them out. So we have an easy deck for 5+, and then you get the harder deck, which is the grey ones, which have fantasy characters. So you've got in this deck cats, dogs, lions, pirates, so all things that are really easy to act out and sound out. Once you've collected a set of 3, that's your Quirk, goes in front of you, but then they can be stolen. So you have mischief cards. These red ones allow you to steal. These orange ones allow you to block, and then the blue ones are actually played against the asking card. So if you're asking for a Quirk, or you're asking for a certain card, and someone gives you a stop card instead, that's your end stopped. So then that next person can ask for the card that you were asking for. So it's a kind of bit of strategy in there. And then you have advanced play, which is these mischief cards, and they act on the entire group playing. So it might be that you're distributing your Quirks around, or you're giving your hand to another player, so they're really, really evil. But the person at the end of the game with the most Quirks is the winner.
Oh, nice.
So that is the entire game. You get 13 characters in a deck. So it's kind of like the traditional deck where you have 13 numbers. But instead you've got 13 characters, and then you get these additional cards that allow you to steal and block from each other.
Right.
I don't think I've seen a game like this for kids. Like this.
I love the acting out. That's great.
My kids did as well.
I sold over 10,000 copies on my own, and then I licensed to Gibsons, and now we've got about 14,000 copies out there. And it's in John Lewis now. So we went to Waterstone CS and then John Lewis. And when I licensed to Gibsons in 2020, we put it in a big box. You get 2 sets of cards. So for £12, you get double the amount of cards. And then you can mix them together as well. So this is 2 to 6 players, and then with 2 decks, you can go up to 12 players.
Wow.
So John Lewis is the mainstay of family entertainment. Like my wife thinks if it's in John Lewis or something like that, she said it's a good game.
Yeah.
That's her standard.
That's her standard, yeah. But yeah, this looks so much fun. And again, are you playing this at the weekend?
Yes, I'm here Saturday and Friday.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday, sorry. I'm only here half a day on Saturday because I go to the house. But I'm on Gibsons, and then Gibsons are here all weekend anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want to come over and play, then
I definitely want to come away.
I'm developing an app.
What we kind of go is trying to
So I just packed up from the stand. So I am developing the app at the moment, and that's going to come out. I can show you on my phone as well. But I'm hoping to launch in August, but we've still got a lot of stuff to do. So I've done all the artwork for it, all the animation. This is it. So you can change your colour player, you can change your AI players, and you can change how hard they play as well. Sorry, I can't see.
Is it an offline game, so you don't need the internet?
It won't be online. You can obviously have to download it.
Yeah.
And then it plays like the actual game. So you ask your character for a card, they say no, and then they'll ask each other and they'll ask you. So it's a bit of a memory game as well. So if he's just stolen a card by the things. So you just kind of memorise and try and win as many Quirks. And then once you've won Quirks, whether you've won or lost during this game, you get stickers. So whatever Quirks you've collected at the end of the game, they go into your sticker collection. So the next time you play, you can go for a certain Quirk rather than collecting the same ones. There's a bit of strategy in which Quirks you collect and which Quirks you steal from the AIs as well, or what you want to block. So yeah, that's what we're in development right now. But it's a bit buggy still, so we're still working all that bit out.
Sorry, we work in IT. In fact, we work in software development, so we understand all the ways.
Yeah. It's the first time I've developed.
So I know what that's like. What's the bugs? Well done. It's really good.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Ooh, I've cooled down.
Yeah? It's because you took the mask off.
It's because I took the mask off. Do you know, I don't know if they turned the aircon on or what, but it got very hot in here at one point. So if you are coming and you are watching this, then just be aware.
Wear shorts.
Wear shorts.
A skirt or a dress, because it's going to get really hot in that hall tomorrow. So we found some really nice little bits, and hopefully we'll have those edited if Jamie has time for tomorrow. But yeah, really, really interesting games we saw today.
Oh yeah, do you know what I like?
I've been to UK Games Expo before, and I've always found it a little bit samey, same sort of games. And I think one of the things, and we've spoken about this on the channel before, but one of the things that like the lockdown has really given is people the ability to think and have time. And some of the games that have really come out have been really original.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's not just the same miniature-based kind of combat game stuff. People have been thinking about mechanics and stuff, and yeah, just really interesting stuff that come out of it.
Like there was the Pyramid Egyptian game.
Yeah, there's deck chairs on the Titanic.
The Rockpool drag racing game, which was Drags and Riches, I believe.
From Drag to Riches?
Yeah, from Drag to Riches.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so exciting. And we've loads and loads of children's games, and we've just seen a couple. They would be the last ones that we've seen. Those definitely going to come back on Sunday and play with my kids. So.
Yeah, perfect. I think a good place to go if you're looking for unique games is the Hachette Board Games place as well, because you unfortunately went to the bathroom when they were doing it, but they had a spin top game where you're navigating a spinning top around this little kind of maze, and then you have to then put it onto somebody else's maze, and it was amazing. And the guy who did it actually flipped it up in the air, managed to catch it on the other side. It was very impressive. So we'll try and film that tomorrow maybe, and see how terrible our tops are.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to go because my mobile is actually running out of battery, which doesn't bode well for tomorrow. But anyway, but yeah, so if you are watching this on YouTube, which you will be because it's the only place to make sure you click like and subscribe. Find us on other social media channels, and if you're watching this before you go to UK Games Expo and you bump into us, say hello, then come say hello. But more importantly, enjoy the UK Games Expo.
Stay safe
and keep rolling.